C Limited is going to release its Q4 earnings on the 1st of March. And that is in 2 days time. But right now, if you are holding on to C Limited stock, or even if you don't already own C Limited stock but are looking to buy C Limited stock just before its earnings, you have to watch this video before C Limited stock releases its earnings on Tuesday. Because right now, there's an ominous sign appearing on the price chart of C Limited stock, and you want to pay attention to this warning sign. Before we dive right in, if you are new to this channel, my name is Linus, and in this channel I share all things related to the stock market, so both investing and trading. If you want more videos such as this, make sure you subscribe to my channel because each week I release 2 new videos about investing, trading, and the stock market. Alright, so let's begin by taking a look at C Limited stock price chart right now. From the peak over here to where C Limited stock is currently at, we see that C Limited stock has declined by about 61%. And that is a massive price decline. Say you bought the stock somewhere around its peak over here, and if you have set through the decline, right now just to break even, C Limited stock has to go up by more than 100%. And you can do the math. Right now, prices of C Limited stock is at around $137. At this price, if C Limited stock achieve a 100% increase or a double, its stock price will be about $274. And at the price, C Limited stock hasn't even reached its previous peak of around $362. So it just shows you the magnitude of the decline that C Limited stock experienced recently. And when the stock declines this much, there is definitely something wrong with the stock. Yes, recently the stock market hasn't been doing too well, but that is no excuse for why C Limited stock has declined by so much. So if we take a look at the 3 main indexes in the US stock market, so let's first take a look at the S&P 500. So from the peak over here to where the prices are currently at, we see that the S&P 500 only declined by about 9%. And if we take a look for the Dow Jones, the Dow Jones is also quite similar. So from the peak over here to where prices are currently at, we see that the Dow Jones also declined by about 8%. And we take a look at the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq has been harder hit. So again, we take from the peak to where prices are currently at, we see that the Nasdaq declined by about 15%. So the S&P 500 and Dow Jones declined by about 8%, and for the Nasdaq, it declines by about 15%. But all of them don't compare to C Limited stock. So if we take a look at C Limited stock again, C Limited stock declined by about 62%. And that is almost 5 times worse than the worst performing index, which is the Nasdaq. While it's normal for a stock to decline as the overall stock market declines, the decline that we are seeing with C Limited stock is too excessive compared to the rest of the US stock market. So that's the first issue that I have with C Limited stock. But the next thing that I'll be sharing with you is even worse. So if we take a look over here and zoom in, so we see over here as C Limited stock declined, there were multiple days of gap downs. So the first day of gap down was over here, then we had another one over here, another one over here, another one over here, and another one over here. So C Limited stock experienced multiple gap downs. And on these declines, we see that C Limited stock was doing it on above average volume. So if we take a look at this gap down over here, this gap down day, we see that volume was above average. And then we had another gap down over here, and this was also slightly above average volume. And the next gap down was on this day over here, and this was also done on above average volume. We had another gap down over here, and then finally we also had another gap down over here. And this gap down was the most worrying one. This gap down was done on the highest volume since the start of its move. So we zoom out over here and take a wide eye view of C Limited price chart. The volume on the gap down day is the highest since the start of the move. So I'll consider the start of the move over here. Why? Because over here on the left side, prices were basically moving sideways. So the start of the advance really only happened over here. So the advance started over here and continued all the way before the stock tops out over here and start its decline. So when a stock declines on the largest volume since the start of its move, this is usually a big warning sign that the stock can continue declining from there. And if we go on to the weekly time frame, we see that the volume on the weekly time frame was also the highest since the start of the move. So the start of the move was over here, and this volume was 68 million. But if we take a look at this volume over here, the volume was also 68 million. So the volume on this down week was the highest since the start of the move over here. And it is on this weekly volume that we get to see whether institutions are accumulating or distributing shares of C Limited stock. So over at this decline over here, we see volume picking up. So if we zoom in over here, we see volume was steadily picking up as C Limited stock declines. And the volume that we are seeing over here is definitely not retail investors just selling out of C Limited stock, but rather it is the institutions. And this gives us huge clues that institutions are selling out of C Limited stock. So if we go back onto the daily time frame, why did C Limited stock gap down so much on this day over here? So the reported reason is because of this. C Limited stock gap down on Monday, which was on the 14th of February, because the world's second most populous country, which is India, banned C Limited's most successful mobile game. And it was because of this news that C Limited stock gap down over here. Whether you think the selling was over excessive for C Limited stock, one thing is for sure. Institutions are selling out of C Limited stock. Because as I have shown you on the weekly volume and also on the daily volume, this is definitely institutions selling the stock. It cannot be your unbetty or retail investors selling out and producing this much volume in a single day. And if institutions are selling out the stock, usually it's also a wise idea to follow them, because they probably know something about the stock that retail investors do not know just yet. So while we might not have the same kind of information that these institutions have, one thing that we can do is follow their footprints. And because these institutions are so big, the amount of shares that they buy and sell are also very big. So if they buy or sell in huge amounts, these will usually appear on the price charts. And if we are able to analyze the price charts correctly, we are able to follow their footsteps even if we do not have the same kind of information that they do have. And that is why if you ask me for C Limited's upcoming Q4 earnings on 1st of March, which is 2 days time, my opinion is that the stock will react negatively to the earnings results. But just take note that I'm talking about probabilities over here. I cannot predict where C Limited stock is going to move in the future. But what I can do is analyze the price charts and determine the probabilities of where C Limited stock is going to head to. So in this video, I have shared with you the ominous sign that it has appeared on C Limited's price chart. So you want to pay attention to this before C Limited stock releases its Q4 earnings on Tuesday. Hopefully you have enjoyed and learned something from this video. If you did, smash the like button because it will really help the channel grow and allow me to produce more content such as this. And if you want more weekly stock ideas and tips, make sure you join my Facebook and Telegram groups, because in those groups I share with you weekly stock ideas, tips and news. You can join those groups by clicking on the links down in the description below. I'll see you in the other videos to your financial success.